Okay, everyone. Well, I want to start this by just saying a big thank you to James Forrest for saving Trophy Day, putting some smiles on our faces. Would have been happy regardless seeing Celtic win a trophy, but my God, James Forrest, thank you. We love you.
I think that's the biggest smiles, right? And you couldn't, for such an accolade, you couldn't leave it till as late as he did, I think. I'm stumbling a little bit. I've had a few G's, so we'll plough on.
I'm absolutely sober tonight. No doubt they'll be saying once again that Hamish just had too much to drink, because he did that after the derby, even though it was just because I was shouting. It's busy here.
It's doing all right. We've got some willing participants that have been enjoying their Saturday evening Australian time.
Yeah. Okay, so we're at the Melbourne #1 Celtic Supporters Club, the oldest CSC in the Southern Hemisphere, formed in 1981. Great place. It's been a good atmosphere tonight. You can hear some of them. We've got the trophy celebrations going on.
We do.
Scott,
James is coming out as we speak.
Are we going to give people a commentary? Probably not, because they'll probably have seen this by the time.
This is true, but I mean, you can never get tired of Trophy Day, right?
Okay, so James Forrest is carrying the Premiership trophy out onto the pitch at Celtic Park as we talk. We'll keep you updated with what happens. I've got a fair idea you have a fair idea of what is going to happen. It's going to involve Callum McGregor lifting a trophy above his head. And I feel like we should talk about what we're witnessing at the moment rather than the game, because the game wasn't very good.
It really wasn't. It wasn't until the 60th minute that things sort of livened up a bit, and that was the introduction of James Forrest, specifically McCowan and Yang. But the former two, they brought the game to life, and that's when Celtic started looking really dangerous. And thankfully, Jamesy saved all our blushes before the end. So thank God for that.
Because I mean, he obviously gets the headline, and it's an amazing story. And I mentioned earlier in the week that, without being a killjoy here, everyone, it's a little bit of a manufactured story. I mean, no one was going into this season, or even at Christmas time, was talking about, oh, James Forrest needs to get his goal. It only really became a story because we'd won the league by about 100 points, and we were looking for wee things. And if it wasn't Dyson getting to 40 goals, which I'm starting to think he might not manage 40 goals, he might get 7 next week, Aberdeen, I don't know, but starting to think he doesn't. But if it wasn't going to be Dyson, it was this James Forrest thing. Can James get his goal? And it went on and on and on and on. And I think we'd all kind of started to resign ourselves to thinking it wasn't going to happen. And in the most kind of James Forrest way, the kind of goal we've seen so many times from him, that pass from Alistair Johnson was brilliant, and you just knew. I can't wait to get home and properly watch the game and hear the roar. I think James McFadden on the coverage we got saying that Celtic Park went mad when the goal went in.
Yeah, you wouldn't have heard Celtic Park go mad because I was in your ear going mad. So, yeah, again, like, what can you say? Like, I think I said to you, like, how do you even, if you're James Forrest, how do you even wrap your head around the achievement? Like, he's the most humblest guy. Everyone loves him. But, like, the most Celtic trophies, the 16-year streak, like, that's nothing to him probably right now. But when he gets to kick back when he eventually retires, that's some achievement. Like, is there anyone who can match that? I don't think so. But older heads will know because they've seen more than I have. But, like,
in terms of, you know, what trophies won.
The 16-year streak, what is it, 25, 26 trophies?
The point
26
the point I made earlier in the season is James Forrest, I think, is going to be a one-club man at Celtic.
Yeah.
So you're... And that, I mean, again, I'll open it up, and there'll be a number of you who'll probably have an answer to this straight away, but who was the last one-club man for Celtic? I mean, I know we've had a few over the years, you know, back in the day, but in terms of players, and Callum McGregor's played for, you know, another club on loan. James Forrest has been Celtic the whole way through, and he's always just gone about his business, and it's amazing that I think potentially now finally starting to get the credit that he deserves, and I personally think he's always deserved. But even like the goal's obviously going to get the headlines today because that was a big moment, but he was actually the best Celtic player by a good bit. I mean, the amount of good crosses he put in. He's probably not going to start against Aberdeen next week. I think I mean, we can discuss this, but I think the team that started today will probably start next week, even though they were poor. The manager will give them another chance in a more meaningful game. If I was the manager, I'd probably start James Forrest next week over Nicholas Kuhn.
Based on what we saw, the game started to change. It had energy from the 60th minute. That's when all the subs came on. Like, if you're picking it on the impact, you've got to start James Forrest, I think, next week ahead of Kuhn. It was a pretty lackluster, flat Celtic performance up to that stage. We had all the possession. We couldn't generate any real offensive pressure. It's knocking around. I think up until the goal, I think we only had one shot on goal at that point. Like, we'd had chances when, he puts it over. Like, just there's nothing really happening until Jamesy hits it.
Yeah, we had the Dyson header, which is from a brilliant James Forrest cross. Johnny Kenny had a kind of big moment as well. Where, by the way,
that's fair.
He looked incredibly quick. Oh, sorry, breaking news, everyone. We've missed
fireworks.
We're going back 10 seconds because we missed it. Oh, and James Forrest has lifted the trophy with Callum McGregor. That's amazing. Amazing stuff. Sorry, we're going to interrupt the match coverage for a sec. Amazing scenes. You honestly just never tire of it. The smiles on the faces. Callum McGregor lifting another trophy. As I say, James Forrest heavily involved as well. Amazing, isn't it? Dyson tapping the board as well. Amazing.
Love it. You never tire of it. I was asked earlier tonight by a Manchester United fan if we find this boring.
No.
I had to categorically put him in his place and say, no, this never gets boring. And long may we reign.
Casper getting his hands on the trophy, his first league title with Celtic. Cameron Carter-Vickers. Yeah, just amazing. Celtic. It's always sunny in trophy day as well. Have you noticed that?
I was thinking of that earlier. Like, when was the last time it rained?
It's been a while.
It's raining here tonight.
I know it's not great, but it always seems to be sunny. Amazing scenes. It felt a bit different though today. We probably should touch on them, not to bring the mood down, but the kind of stuff before the game. There's been a fair bit of chat about, fan displays and the club not allowing the Green Brigade, the North Curve, to kind of produce their own display before the game.
Just to interrupt, sorry. We got Rayo here on crutches. It's a sad sight. He's got a medal around his neck.
Out for the season?
Yeah. We're not going to have him next week either.
Yeah, we had a club organised display that I don't think very many people inside the stadium actually took part in. It seemed, rather than being like a tifo, it seemed to be flags that a number of people were waving. I had a kind of brief look at it before I came in here, and I think the main stand was certainly taking part in it, or certainly the TV cameras picked up the main stand, but majority of the rest of the stadium, I think it's fair to say that it didn't get off the ground, which more than anything is a bit of a shame for the people's tireless efforts, the people who would have put those flags out. And I mean, 60,000 flags is a hell of a lot of effort that's gone to waste. But I think, to be honest, my own personal view is that the club only have themselves to blame. I think they're pretty out of touch with the Celtic support on this. I can't get my head round why someone at the club, or a number of people at the club, thought that was going to go down well today, given the recent things that have gone on with certain, fan displays not being allowed, thinking that a club organised display would be well participated in and well received by the Celtic support. I obviously wasn't at the game. People will be able to tell us how much of how well it did go down and if it had any impact on the atmosphere. But I just think on a day like this, when we should be all celebrating Celtic, we are all celebrating Celtic, but the club don't half love an own goal at this kind of point.
Yeah, this is something to work on over the off-season. We know through the statements from the fan groups that they're open to a conversation. The board and whoever is responsible for these relationships, they need to stump up and get to the table. We can't have this. So Celtic is a massive club worldwide, and the biggest part of that is the fans. We're in Melbourne, you could be in Philadelphia, you could be in Glasgow. It's the fans that make Celtic, and that's been acknowledged by the greatest players and coaches or managers who've been part of the game. We can't have our club disassociated with the fans in such a way. The fan displays, the atmosphere that's generated by the fans, that makes Celtic part, and that makes the CSCs worldwide. The board, whoever is in management there that needs to have these conversations, go and have them in the off-season, sort this out, because we don't need this split. We just don't need it.
So reliant on the Celtic support. The Celtic support are the ones who are putting in the majority of the money.
The manager referenced this stuff in January, and that was controversial at the time. Sort it out. Just sort it out. The fans are open to a conversation. Club, go sort it out.
Yeah. I've kind of made my peace with this just always being the case at Celtic. I personally think there's far too many egos involved in this situation. I think that there just needs to be a line drawn under this, and we have to move forward, because it's not a good place to be. I mean, there won't be any news on this urgently, but I mean, there was even in the North Curve, I think, in retaliation to the board's stance, a bit of defiance, some would say, that there was quite heavy pyrotechnics before the game. I know John McGinley of the Celtic Way, who's obviously been on here, a good pal of mine. He was saying that he reckons that's going to lead to a kind of punishment in terms of the next time we go to Hampden, not next week, but in the League Cup next season, hopefully. I think we're going to lose maybe another 800 seats of our allocation because of that pyro display today. So it's just overall just a bit of a kind of disappointing situation, as I say, on a day when we're all celebrating. And listen, we are all celebrating. We're watching these amazing scenes. I just reiterate what I said at the top of the show. James Forrest saved trophy day for me, because we'd still be having these scenes, but I don't know, things would have been a little bit dull, I think, had after the way the pre-match stuff went. The game itself, Celtic were awful today, like as bad a performance as you're ever going to see from Celtic, which I do forgive them, to be honest. I'm not particularly bothered about it. I don't think we'll see that again next week. But the fact that James Forrest pops up with that goal was an amazing moment, and it seems like that just completely changed the whole day, to be honest, inside the stadium. And certainly here as well.
Yeah. That's as flat as a performance we've had in quite a while. It was unexpected, especially from the guys that you expect to start next week in the cup final. I don't know.
Any concerns going into next week? Or, I mean, it's a totally different game.
I have no concerns, because I know that motivation is probably a bit of a factor now. I mean, it's trophy day. I think we've also become so accustomed of us belting someone on trophy day. What was it, like the last 5 trophy days or something?
I think the stat was we've only maybe lost. I think he said 1 in our last 12 trophy days we've lost, which was the Aberdeen game. I think was 7 years ago today. So I mean, I think you're right. Trophy days recently, we've certainly won the majority of them. Today was as flat a performance as I've seen from the team. Not totally sure why that was, to be honest. It's a strange one, because I did think the team would be really up for it, and I thought we'd really turn on the style today, but it just wasn't there right from the start. I mean, we created very little, and it was the subs who improved us in the second half. James Forrest was a big one. Johnny Kenny was decent enough when he came on. Yang looked lively, but to be honest, had we not scored, I don't think we could have had many complaints about the result. But is there any kind of players in your mind? Do you think it's the same team for Aberdeen next week, or is there any decisions for the manager to make?
I think there is. I was a little I love Paolo Bernardo. I was a little disappointed by his output today.
Yeah.
I thought we'd see a really direct on it Bernardo, but he seemed a bit passive and sort of fell into that habit that sometimes we do when teams lock it down tight around the 18-yard box. That penetrating pass or that penetrating run that he's so capable of, just didn't eventuate. He's just knock it out wide, knock it around the edges, and then there'd be a soft cross or something that goes in. And I love Bernardo, but today wasn't his day. And I think...
Does he start next week? I mean, because I've seen a few people saying McCown.
Yeah.
I thought McCown was pretty poor when he came on as well, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't know. I think McCowan sort of grew into it a bit. I actually had notes. I thought McCowan and Forrest brought some energy. So if we start in that flat manner and McCowan isn't on and Forrest isn't on, that's the sub you have to make. For a cup final, who's proven? I mean, Bernardo not going down when he got checked in the cup final last year is what opens up either.
Yeah.
I think with the way the game's going to be more open rather than locked down like the way St Mirren played today. We saw midweek Aberdeen want to play. They want to take it to you. Those opportunities are going to be there. So I think you start Bernardo again. And he'll probably be better for the run too, because he hasn't had a lot of football in the last 2 months.
Yeah, I think it's probably the same team that starts against Aberdeen next week. But as I say, I think there's some genuine questions there. Because you look at, I mean, we made the joke, I think, at the start of the second half, you said, it's a pity the B team aren't playing when you look at how good they were in midweek. But there's a kind of serious point there that they looked really hungry. I mean, as I say, Alistair Johnson plays a big part in the goal, which is a great pass. Well, it's a simple pass, but it's good that he got his head up and passed it to Forrest. But like Johnson was really poor today. So like, do you look at someone like Ralston? I think the reality is Brendan Rodgers is probably going to go with the same team. I think it was a bit of a dress rehearsal today. Listen, we've got all week to... I know you don't, but I've got all week to build ahead to the cup final and discuss all these things.
I'll talk to myself.
We'll maybe get you on. Let's just, chat a little bit about the achievement, because, you work hard all season and win the league. I know we've not won the league today, but like this is what you play for. How are you going to remember this league season? Is there like a moment? Is there a match? Or is there just an overall feeling that you have?
I think it's an overall feeling, because I think you can't look at the league just in isolation on its own, because I think we were so dominant in the first half of the season that other things took priority, and that other thing was the Champions League. And that the performance we put in to get to the stage that we did, the performances against particularly Bayern Munich, but even against Atalanta, that was a shift after such a disappointing effort at Dortmund. Like, you saw the growth in the team at that level, and I think that's what will spur us further forward. I mean, I know we got to qualify whoever we play, but that's the benchmark, and that's, I think, where, to really show where Celtic are heading, that's going to be our benchmark moving forward, is what performance do we put in at Champions League. We still have to get the bread and butter done, which is the league, but we've got a bigger focus now, I think, and we're probably best placed than we've been in a decade or more to really take advantage of that.
Yeah. No, I can't wait for the European stuff next season. I mean, the European stuff, I think, for a lot of us has been the really exciting stuff that we've had this season. The league at times, for me, it's felt a little bit easy, and that's obviously that's a huge compliment to this Celtic team, especially in the first half of the season. I think we took our eye off the ball a little bit in the second half of the season, but to be honest, the league was never in doubt. I think it's about as straightforward as a league title as I can ever remember following Celtic. I said to you earlier, there was no point during this whole league season where I had like any doubt about us winning the league. Right from the first game of the season, I was pretty confident we were going to win the league and win it confidently and comfortably, and I think the team deserve huge credit for that. And in terms of, major moments, I guess it's a bit of a strange one, because you normally look to the derbies, but the derbies themselves have kind of been maybe the sticking point in winning the league. But the first derby was a great performance. St Johnstone away at the start of the season, the 6-0 game. But I think there was a stat earlier as well that we've scored 5 or more goals 12 times, I think, in the league this season, which is like ridiculous. That's like I wonder if it was in all competition, because I'm kind of doubting that, because that's like a third of your games almost. It might be in all competitions, but even then, that's a ridiculous stat. I guess the goals we've scored, I know we only managed one today, but the goals we've scored would be a big takeaway as well. I mean, the team have just fired in so many.
James's effort today, what's that, 112 in the league? Like, that's a monumental amount of goals. And we've conceded about mid-20s or something, like, I don't know. Maybe it's more than that, but it's the offensive output this year has been outstanding. So many great goals. None stick out in mind right now, but I think the
Carter Vickers.
Carter Vickers one was so good, but there was some really good team goals this year. Like even that
Johnson
game,
one. Remember the back heels and Valle and Ida involved. The Dysamaida lob, do you remember the chip he had against Dundee, the team goal? That was a cracker as well.
Yeah. It's been a great year. I've really enjoyed this year. Probably like no other. And I watched everything in the Ange Postecoglou era. We were having a bit of a chat about that earlier tonight. Like I've watched every preseason game this year, and I think that's where the standard was set, strangely enough. And I know everyone will always say, you can't take too much away from preseason, but we played outstanding football against quality opponents on that American trip. Yeah. And I think that's where the standard was set, and the team hit the ground running in the first month and a half of the season, and it just went on from there. And, like we talked about it after the last derby game, like, the league was essentially over by the new year, and I can't remember a time where Celtic had been that dominant, and we've won a lot, but I don't remember the league essentially being as over as it was, and we had Champions League to look forward to as well. I think that was the icing on the cake for this year.
Yeah, it's crucial we get back into the Champions League next season, because that's just so important to the season. Gives us a bit of variation, gives us certain just a kind of level of excitement, certainly in that first half of the season. So exciting stuff. We're watching the players. Are they still on their first lap? They usually do 2 laps, so they do 1 lap themselves, just to play in squad staff, etc. And they get the kids out for the second lap. But it's looking quite empty at Celtic Park.
Everyone's in the Merchant City, I dare say.
So they've not listened
Don't go there, but maybe go there.
They've not listened to Glasgow City Council. Well, enjoy yourself, whatever you're doing. Should say, by the way, and I've just remembered this, Stevie is sending something in for us from, I don't know, Celtic Park, potentially Merchant City. I think Celtic Park, though.
Hello Hamish, I know it's been a while, so I'll get this one over and done with very soon. I've sent you on loads of stuff for the stadium, and my very good pal and gig pod editor Lee sent you on stuff from the fan media thing after the game. I'm sure you'll share them with the listeners and everything, and the viewers. But yeah, Celtic won St Mirren 1 in a game that reminded me so much for like 92 minutes of the Aberdeen 1-0 game back in 2018. When we won the double treble. We even conceded a goal like that when Considine scored in that game. We conceded a goal like that today against St Mirren, and it felt very much like I was just going to fizzle out into one of those, defeats that we saw so much under, well, I say so much, I mean, we lost maybe 1 game under Gordon Strachan, didn't we? But it felt very much like a Strachan end of season game today. But yeah, what a moment it was when James Forrest scored. It's mad, like the stadium erupted, and I even celebrated like we would have scored against Rangers or something. That was a special moment today, and thoroughly deserved. That Tim scored 16 seasons in a row. What a moment, and what a great finish as well. So I thought the St Mirren goalie thought he was going to put it in across him, and he hit it into the near post, and it was just such a typical James Forrest moment where he just sort of bailed us out. When it didn't even look likely at all. I hope I'm making sense here. As you can probably tell, I've had a few, alright? Just cut me a bit of slack. I'll do one next week from Hampden. I'm fortunate enough to get a ticket. And I will be sober for that, okay? But it's the end of the season, I'm sure you can allow me a few anyway. Not that you're a tyrant or anything, but we went to Drygate for a few hours after the game. Not the Strong Gate, thankfully. It was a really good time. But yeah, I think this moment's been a long time coming as well this season. I mean, I would say we've won the league since, most people would say maybe the game against Aberdeen back in December, 1-0 hit game. Personally, I even felt when we beat Rangers 3-0 back in September, it was done and dusted then. But yeah, it feels like we've had a win for the last 6 months, and today was just an outpouring of celebration after all that. Because although it's maybe down tools a bit and we've not hit the heights of the first maybe 4 or 5 months of the season, thoroughly deserved it, and we are very much deserved champions again. That's us done 4 in a row. And Celtic Park was great today. As I said, I sent you on everything from the stadium, and feel free to share with everyone. I'll sign off to now, right? I just want to say thanks to the people that were asking how things are. Things are okay, generally. And I'll do a more comprehensive end of season video after the final at Hampden. I've taken up a few minutes of your time. I think that's all you need to hear from me. So thanks again to everyone. Cheers, Hamish. It's been an enjoyable season, and I'll talk to you next week. After Hampden, get some Kronenberg in the fridge. I'm going to go and finish it off, and I'm sure you don't grudge me that at all.
And that was Stevie. Lovely to have him back on the channel. I know a few of you have been asking about him. He's good, and it's good to have him back on chatting about Celtic. And he gets sunny weather as well.
Yeah,
I think
I'll look forward to the weather report.
I think he mentioned that. He probably did. Okay, we'll head there head now because I think they're closing up here. But another title for Celtic, another trophy, and we're getting photos of James Forrest with the trophy, the man of the moment, I think, and an amazing day for him. Final thoughts, is it going to be a treble next week?
Yes, 3-0.
3-0. And
we're gonna finally keep a clean sheet again.
And we're going to be in here actually for the hopefully treble party after the Scottish Cup final next weekend. Plenty of build up to come throughout the week. We're going to have videos pretty much every day, I think, from Monday onwards. But for now, thanks everyone for tuning in. Thanks, Scott, and we'll catch up with you all soon.